Hi, I'm Jordan from Kettner Creative. We get asked all the time, can you show us how to do a live stream setup with the Yamaha MG10XU audio console? So finally, here's the video that everybody's been asking for. We're going to show you how to connect 3 different types of microphones. We're going to pretend that it's a podcast that has a phone-in video or phone-in audio guest. So we're going to connect a phone using a mix-minus setup. Plus, we're going to add a laptop as if the 3 podcast guests are all playing a game together on the laptop, and that's being streamed over OBS to whatever service you choose. It would be exactly the same once we get it to OBS as to whether or not you're streaming from YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, whatever else you want to stream to. This setup will show you how to do it. Really, the output of where it's going is the least of your worries because OBS will handle that for you. So with this setup, we're making a couple assumptions here. We're making an assumption that you have 2 computers. That does make the streaming a whole lot easier. Say we have a gaming PC and we have our streaming computer. So we're going to show you how to connect everything to one streaming computer, and it goes from there. So the first thing that we're going to do really quickly, just to get it out of the way, because it will be the missing link at the end of this video, is we're going to connect an HDMI cable to our quote-unquote our fake gaming PC here, which is just a really old laptop. We have it connected to a cam link, which basically takes HDMI and converts it to USB. The only reason I'm showing you how to do this is just because it's the only piece that's missing from a full stream. So I'm assuming if you want to watch this whole video on how to set up all these microphones and all this equipment, that you're also interested in the video piece as well. So on my MacBook here, we have OBS open. We have a brand new file set up. I'm just going to hit plus to add a new device. We want to add a video capture device. We're going to call it gaming laptop. Hit enter. That device is coming in through the cam link 4K, preset high. There it is. It's all coming in. Great. So we have our video set up. So now we got to just talk about audio, which is what this whole video is about. So in front of me here is that Yamaha MG10XU. We already do have the USB cable connected to the laptop, but I haven't done anything with it yet. I'll show you how to get there when we get there. Actually, let's deal with that first. So back to OBS. Let's hit plus. We want an audio input capture. We're going to call it the MG10XU. Hit enter. And then we are going to select the MGXU. Hit OK. And then what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to mute the built-in microphone that's on the laptop because we want the MG10XU doing all of our audio work for us. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to plug in these microphones. Now please don't skip this. This does have some useful information that answers all the top questions that we get. So a common complaint with this mixer is that the USB output is just so quiet. It is not loud enough. Everybody complains when I'm online that this is not loud enough, and I'm going to show you why. The stereo output of this mixer, unfortunately, according to most people's opinions, they expect that that would affect the output of the USB. That's not true. Everything comes from the main pad of the console, and it skips the main stereo output level and goes straight to USB. So you can still mix the channels, but you don't get an output knob on the USB level. And that's because Yamaha is trying to prevent you from clipping. If you set up your gain properly, you should have all the volume that you need. So to quote, it's kind of like Apple would say, you know, if your phone's not working, it's because you're holding it wrong. Unfortunately, that is the case. If your audio is too quiet, it's because the gain is set up incorrectly. I'm going to show you with all these different microphones. So the Shure SM58 here, what we want to do is we want to turn the level all the way up to that triangle. That's known as 0 or unity. It's where you're going to get the most volume per noise. But if you look at the meter here, you can see that we're not getting any level. In OBS, you can see that we're getting a little bit of level, and this is probably what your friends are hearing when you're streaming and they're complaining that it's not loud enough. But what you need to do is please do not be afraid of gain. Gain is not the enemy here. It can introduce noise if it's used incorrectly, but what you want is you want to introduce enough gain that if your level is at the triangle, that when you speak normally, it hits 0. Now when you look at OBS, you're going to see that we are exactly where you want to be. We are just tiptoeing into the red there. In OBS, actually, I just came all the way up to -5. That is absolutely perfect. We have the headroom we need, and we're mostly in the yellow when we're speaking, and when I really pop right in the microphone, it goes up to the red just for a second. That's exactly what you want. So if you use this gain setup, your friends will not complain about your volume. Now, if you want to use compression, which I highly recommend for streaming because you don't want to be riding your volume when you get excited or if you're getting quiet because you're getting into the game. So, what you need to know about this one knob compressor is that as you turn it up, it does add up to 7 decibels of gain to your microphone. So let's say, for example, let's look right now. We're at 0. If I turn the compressor up to half, you can see now that we're closer. Well, it's bumping off +6. So we did add about 4 decibels of gain there, something like that. Just knowing that the compressor does add up to 7 and we pushed it up halfway. So you may need to reduce the gain a little bit if you're using compression. So just keep that in mind. But with this setting, your guest or whoever is streaming online with you, you can see in OBS, we are as loud as we could possibly be without clipping. So that should solve your quiet issue. Next, I'm just going to turn the volume down on that microphone to keep things simple. We're going to plug in the Shure SM7B. So this microphone, as everybody knows, it has a notoriously high gain requirement. It's really hard to get this microphone to sing. A lot of people say you must use a cloud lifter. Again, that's just not true. So we're going to turn this level all the way up to the triangle position. And again, you can see we have a little bit of level coming in on OBS, but not much at all. So we're just going to turn up the gain here. So we're going to max out the gain. So when we max out the gain, you can see we might have introduced a little bit of noise because that gain is going a little bit crazy, but we can add a little bit of compression too. That'll get us a little bit more gain and prevent us from peaking if we get too excited. And we can add a little bit more level. Don't be afraid to use all the volume. Something like a cloud lifter will help. It will make it so your gain doesn't have to be absolutely pinned. But what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that with the Shure SM7B, that is hard to activate. You can get a good level going in OBS from the microphone just using a bone stock Yamaha MG10XU without a cloud lifter. Next, we're going to use a condenser microphone. So for this hodgepodge of a podcast that we just made up, we got a little bit of everything here. So I'm going to turn down the volume on the Shure SM7B and pick up the condenser microphone. Again, we're going to turn the level up to that triangle position. We're going to increase the gain, and we're going to see that we're not getting anywhere. That's because condenser microphones need phantom power. So we're just going to click this button on. I like to keep the level down when I click the button on. And now we move the level up to the triangle, and we increase the volume until we're flirting with that 0 position. And you can see in OBS again, we're right in that yellow sweet spot. We're exactly where we need to be, and this condenser microphone is working. Now, there is a lot of confusion with phantom power. I'm just going to put this microphone down, turn it down. There's a lot of confusion with phantom power. They say it will damage a dynamic microphone if you have phantom power. You can't mix condenser microphones with dynamic microphones. That's just not true. There are some dynamic microphones that can be damaged by phantom power. But I'm going to say that as an audio engineer that's been doing this for 15 years, probably 300 events a year, I've never been in a situation where if you're using a typical microphone that you can buy from Shure or a proper brand, they're balanced. So one thing that you can look up if you want to go down the wormhole is look up the difference between balanced and unbalanced dynamic microphones. Most dynamic microphones, like 99% of them, are balanced. They can eat condenser phantom power and it won't affect them at all. It will not make them sound better, probably won't hurt them. You can mix them. High-end mixing consoles allow you to turn on phantom power per channel, which is a nice add-on. But if you're buying $99 Shure dynamic microphones, having phantom power on will not hurt them. Done it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. So don't be concerned about that. All these microphones here, they can play nice with each other with phantom power on. Just know that it won't help dynamic microphones, but it's absolutely required if you're using a condenser microphone. Next, we want to bring in the game audio from our gaming PC here. So I am going to plug in some volume from the headphone jack. With this cable, it goes from a headphone jack to 2 1/4-inch cables. Now, when you look at these cables aren't super great, but you'll notice that one has a red tip. There's lots of streaming videos online where they say it doesn't matter. It does matter. It absolutely matters. The red side always has to go into the right jack. And especially if you're streaming, if you reverse those jacks, people are going to watch you stream, and say you have some motion on the right side of your screen, it's going to come out of their left ear. So always make sure that right is red and white is left. That way, when people are watching your stream, what they're hearing actually makes sense. So there we go. Our computer is plugged in. So what we're going to do is we have this beautiful royalty-free music from YouTube, so I don't get taken down. Okay, it's playing. So I'm just going to increase the volume. Oh, so we see here one issue that might happen. This is actually good that we see this, is the audio settings on the laptop is trying to send the audio out through the HDMI cable. We don't want that. What we want here is we want it to come out of the default audio device, the headphone jack on the laptop. So now we're going to hit pause and hit play again. And now you can see that we're getting level over in OBS, and you can see here that we're getting level right up to that 0 mark, which is exactly where we want it. Obviously, your audio doesn't have to always be bouncing off that. If you want your music to be quieter, feel free to turn it down. But as a general rule, if you're not getting what you need on the OBS side or on your streaming side, don't be afraid of adding more gain to your channels. Okay, so that's great. We have that in there. Next, we're going to show you how to set up what's called a mix minus, which is if you have a phone caller or a Skype guest or something like that, you want them to hear your whole mix. You want them to hear all 3 microphones, you want them to hear the laptop, and you do not want them to hear themselves. So you want to send them the whole mix minus themselves. So to do that with this iPhone, I have to plug in the Lightning to headset adapter. It does need to be a headset adapter. That's different than a headphone adapter. A headset adapter allows you to take a left and right headphone out of the phone and allows you to feed it a microphone. I also have this handy little cable here that allows me to break it out. So it's a headset adapter, it plugs into there. And it allows me to now take a headphone jack from the phone and plug it into the mixer, and then I get to feed the phone XLR. So I'm going to plug in this headphone jack, and then I'm going to plug in again. Remember, right is red, so white is left. And then on the phone side, we need to feed it XLR. So to do that, we can use the effects send out of the mixer and plug that jack into the phone. So I do just want to quickly talk about the effects send. There's a lot of confusion with the effects outputs on this console. So anything that you dial in using this row of white knobs, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn all those up to the triangle. That's a good even spot to have them. Except I just plugged the phone into the 7/8 channel, so I don't want the phone sending to itself. So I'm going to leave that down, and I'm going to leave the next channel down. We'll talk about this 9/10 channel in a bit. So right now we're sending the phone everything but itself. That's coming all the way down, and it's coming out the effects send. Now, you can only do this if you're not using effects on the mixer. If the effects return is down and the effects are off, then this will work perfectly for you. But if you do want your audio effects in, if you want that reverb or that pitch change or all the cool things that this console can do, it will get only the same 5 inputs that we're sending. You won't be able to do that to the phone. But you also won't be able to just put effects or reverb on one person's voice, because we're kind of sharing this mix for a lot of different things. So if you're doing this mix minus, just know that you just need to use this, and then you can't use the effects on the mixer. If you want to use the effects on the mixer, then we wouldn't have this phone interview option. You need a bigger console if you wanted to split those two things out. So this will work perfectly. Can't really test it because I'm just one person, but if we send those 5 to the phone and the phone comes back in, we can turn that phone up. And just to prove that we can hear it, I'm just going to play some music. If I can find it here. Playlists. Again, we're going to enjoy some sweet, sweet YouTube royalty-free music. So I'm going to play this song and turn this up, and you can see that it's coming in yellow there on the OBS. So that's about the level that we want it. Just coming up to that 0. So that channel works perfectly for us. A couple of things to talk about with the headphone jack here. So usually if you're gaming, you want to hear all this while you're gaming. Now there is a toggle here as to whether or not you want to monitor the monitor channel or the stereo output. Now why would you want to change between those two? You do have an option with this USB cable that's coming from our streaming computer. So we're sending everything that's happening here to the computer, but you also have the ability to have your computer, say, have iTunes open and be a playback device for you. If that's the case, this button needs to be pressed down. That brings the computer in through the USB jack on the back through this channel, but you need to have this red switch up. The reason that you want that red switch up is because then it will send it to your monitors. If this red switch is down, it's going to go to the stereo mix. So you're going to be sending the stereo mix through the computer. It's going to come, and then the computer is going to send it back, and it's going to come here, and it will create a feedback loop with itself. So if you do this, that button needs to be up. And then you built yourself a monitor channel where you can hear everything, but the computer can't hear itself. You essentially just created another mix minus for the computer. And then you can use this button here to toggle between listening to the whole stereo mix or just listening to the monitor channel, which would allow you to then hear the computer as well. Because when you're hearing the stereo mix, you won't hear this computer that's coming in through the USB jack because you don't want the stereo mix creating a feedback loop. So that's why that button there exists, and then you have your monitor or headphone volume here. So that should be everything that you need if you're doing this. We covered gain, compression, stereo inputs, a mix minus setup with a phone, playback from OBS, and setting your gain properly. So if you have any questions about any of this, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Feel free to replay this video as many times as possible. We did put chapters in the description below, so hopefully that makes it easy for you to navigate. If you want to see pricing or specs for anything in this video, we have it all included in the description below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, we might do a follow-up to this exact video. Please like and subscribe. If there's enough questions or if I didn't explain something well enough, then we will make a follow-up video to this as well. Thank you so much for watching.